Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. I can bring you the 7.3 Mythic Plus Holy Priest Guide. Everything you need to know about Holy Priest in mid, low, high keys, and everywhere in between. Getting into it, of course, Holy Priest is this versatile healer where you're able to deal with many different kinds of damage. You're able to be the jack of all trades, and you are able to really lean on your holy words to be at this big oomph in healing, get the big burst of healing that you really need for Mythic Plus, right? Having, for example, your Holy Word Serenities to just about top off players in one global can be immensely powerful. And of course, you're definitely going to be taking large advantage out of your DPS Holy Word as you're going forward with Holy Word Chastise. All right, but first, starting off with the talents right now, it's actually not a joke. You will be taking the left side for most Mythic Plus dungeons that you're going to be going after. 15 tier Trail of Light, offering an additional boost to your single target healing, and being able to let you split your focus a little bit. You're keeping 2 targets healed, just basically about at the same time. 30 tier Angelic Feather, mobility is just amazing. Perseverance can be taken sometimes if you need the damage reduction on really high keys, but you also have to make sure that you have the mobility required to keep up with your tank if they're especially mobile. 45, Shining Force and Censure are both really, really good. And they just kind of do different things. They reflect on different instances that you might need. So Shining Force, for example, if you need any kind of AoE group interrupts and stuff like that, being able to get all your mobs tightly packed into a wall, knock them back into that wall. They're not going to get all spread out all over the place, but they will be able to be interrupted, things like that, right? Censure, if you're really worried about a specific mob that is going to be, eating your face alive, much like cats on Darkheart Thicket, this allows you to get very good single target stun on them, which can be very, very powerful and can really take, a very dangerous mob out of the equation for a short period of time. Sanguine Weeks, you will always be taking Shining Force, without a doubt. Get used to it. It's insane. And then, instance by instance, you'll see what your group needs, depending on group comp. How good of single target stuns do you have? How deadly are single target mobs? All kinds of things like that. 60 tier, Light of the Naru is the way to go. Being able to have a flexible cycle of your holy words for DPS and for healing purposes is extremely strong. You're getting your Holy Word Chastise back faster to deal more damage. You're getting your Holy Word Serenity back faster to get more single target top-offs instantly. Guardian Angel is sort of meh. Having a slightly faster Guardian Spirit cooldown can be nice in some situations. But often, and we'll talk about this when we get into Playstyle, you do kind of lean on your Guardian Spirit proccing and relying on that to proc in very difficult situations. 75 tier, all these are good talents, but I would say Surge Light is going to be the best one for you, mainly because Holy Priest feels pretty weak when they are not able to have a lot of mobile healing. So being able to build up a couple of procs of Surge, then when you have to be moving, you're able to have some good solid heals that you're able to keep on pumping out as there is big damage going out and as movement is required. 90 tier, Divinity is going to be the way to go for moderately difficult keys or any higher than that. Divine Star is slightly better than Holy Nova's damage, but of course, that's just about all you're taking it for. The healing component of Divine Star is very weak. Halo is also quite weak and has a threat of pulling additional trash mobs, so Divinity will be the way to go here. 100 talents, Apotheosis is absolutely insane. It's exceptionally flexible, so you're able to deal damage with it, you're able to do tons of healing with it, and it fills everything that you really need in terms of a big cooldown in Mythic Plus, which the other talents in the 100 tier just do not do. So if you go into a boss fight, that's going to be very easy. All you want to do is just add more single target damage. Apotheosis is the cooldown. If you're in a very difficult trash pack, there's going to be tons of damage split all over the place. Apotheosis is also your cooldown. This is something that's extremely flexible and needs to be used quite frequently to really get the best out of it, to get the most value out of it. And it's something that the other two talents don't even come close to competing with it on terms of flexibility, right? So generally, this is going to be the preferred setup that you're going to be going for, and will allow you to just have a good amount of utility while also being able to quickly have very strong synergy with your Holy Words. And Holy Words are definitely a huge theme in Mythic Plus, much like that they are in raids. We're going to be seeing gear-wise. In terms of stats, there's not any specific breakpoints or anything like that you have to worry about. In raids, you're definitely going to be preferring a lot of mastery. In Mythic Plus, however, you're definitely going to be prioritizing more haste, more crit, and things like that, so that you're able to contribute damage, and you're also still getting healing out. Getting faster casts off is often more important than having extra healing out of mastery, right? A lot of times in Mythic Plus, there's lots of burst damage that happens on individual targets. You want to get them topped off immediately, rather than waiting on mastery ticks from Echo to do additional healing over time, things like that, right? So Haste and crit, you can adjust your jewelry, your rings, your trinkets, things like that when possible in order to make them a little bit better. For legendaries, there's a couple of really strong options that you have, and oftentimes you will be switching around with your legendaries in order to get the biggest benefit out of them. The one that you always want to be wearing if you're in a moderately difficult or higher key is going to be, of course, Pride As. Having the extra shielding, much like playing Disc, you need to have extra damage reduction or extra effective health from the shielding, and Pride As really fits the bill here. So Pride As, definitely get it, keep it on for Mythic Plus. Other options from there, the Legendary Cloak is quite good here, and it really depends on the affixes and on the instance and the trash pulls, right? If you're very afraid of a boss killing you, switch it on, and you'll be able to take advantage of it in terms of like any lethal mechanics that happen. You will quote-unquote die, and you actually will not add any time to the res timer when you resurrect. So it's actually really nice that it doesn't count as a death anymore. And it's very, very nice to be able to survive difficult trash mobs. Say, for example, like those cats in Dark Heart Thicket, right? If they kill you, well, you have a good 15-20 seconds of immunity that you're able to just sit there, spam heal, while everyone else deals with the bad cats, and you don't have to. Other options, of course, are Sefus. I really, really like Sefus in Mythic Plus. It's flexible, you're able to proc it very easily with your Chastise, get that big haste proc, and you're able to deal tons of damage with Holy Nova spam, or you're able to, put out tons and tons of healing through rapid cast and just the increased haste that's going to get your cast off that much quicker. So it's a very strong option. You will want to be switching it off, of course, if you're not able to proc it, or if it's on cooldown, things like that are all to consider. So if you're not able to proc it through a Dispel or through a CC on a mob, going with the wrists is a very, very good option. And again, flexibility. This is what it's all about. Holy is all about being able to choose when you want to deal damage, choose when you want to deal healing, right? So the wrists, accelerating the casts of your flash heals, or your smites, all these things coming together makes it so much easier to, seamlessly switch between dealing damage and healing whenever you really like. Unlike Discipline, we're not dealing damage to heal. We have to kind of switch gears and do so very frequently as we're going through an instant. In terms of trinkets, like we kind of talked about, Stat 6 can have some very good value. Just int plus a secondary stat at a high item level. Very, very strong. But also, like we talked about with Disc, the Deceiver's Grand Design Trinket is just absolutely amazing, and it cannot be stated enough how good it is at saving lives. Being able to have a hot that is able to turn into a shield when a target drops low, provide them enough extra health for them to survive until you can get to them, get them topped off, get them into a safe position. It's super, super strong. From there, you can always take advantage of DPS trinkets when you're going to be going into a boss. A lot of times on-use DPS trinkets can be very valuable. And, looking at things like Tarnished Sentinel's Medallion or the DPS trinket off of Kil'jaeden, on-use effects with intellect, on-use effects with a secondary stat, things like that are always up for consideration. And being able to, like I said, help you get these trash mobs down just a little bit faster here. A lot of times the proc heal trinkets are really not that good, especially those from Mythic Plus. The Conclave of Reflecting Lens procs a heal that kind of swirls around. Well, it doesn't really do enough healing to justify losing out on, potential intellect, potential haste, potential crit, things like that, right? So generally you're going to be going with either like a DPS trinket if you're going to be engaging with a boss, or you're going to be engaging with just a general stat stick that's going to be increasing all of your passive stats. Now in terms of playstyle, like we were talking about, a lot of times you are going to be switching gears in between damage and healing, and as seamlessly as you possibly can, right? So oftentimes when I'm engaging into a big trash pack, I know I want to be able to deal lots of damage as, our group's big stuns and crowd controls and things like that are going off. So a lot of times I will run in there, do what I can to proc, for example, my Sefus if I'm running with it, and use lots and lots of Holy Nova to get a lot of upfront damage going on. But if I am going to be doing this, I want to make sure that I have my Holy Words, Serenity, and Sanctify available in case big damage does go out on my party and I need to be able to top people off quickly. What this will do is it puts you in a situation where you are preparing healing, but not quite in the same vein as a Disc Priest would. What you're doing here is you're preparing Holy Words so you can instantly reverse the damage on a target, and you have that flexibility where you can kind of choose which target you need to be topping off right after the damage happens. So you're preparing your resources that are available to you, and then you're able to react very rapidly to the damage on a specific target, then get back into healing, right? And what a lot of times this will involve is being able to set up priorities of how much healing a target will need if they need to be topped off immediately, or you could just for example, put a flash heal or two into them, then go back to killing the rest of the mobs, or just ignore them because you know that the mobs are going to die almost immediately, and then you can just wait to top them off until you're running into the next trash pack. Those are all kind of things to consider, and they do vary by instance and by the different trash mobs that are going on. The biggest thing when you're healing Mythic Plus is that it's not like raiding where it's always a priority to get people topped off and heal all the damage. The priority here is healing enough of the damage to keep them alive going into the next trash pack, and also contribute damage that you're going to be able to make the run go faster, right? You may think that you're not doing, you're doing a quarter of the DPS, you're doing a fifth of the DPS, whatever. But you also have to realize how much it adds up. The fact that you can be adding millions of damage per run. These mobs are going down just a couple seconds faster than they would if you didn't actually do any healing. Well, those seconds add up because it doesn't take much for these mobs to get free, start jumping out of the stack pile, because you always want to be stacking all the mobs together, getting them down really quick. But if they're living for a couple extra seconds here and there, it can easily lead to deaths, it can easily lead to more issues, and it can delay your run even further. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to be able to have that flexibility between dealing damage and healing. One of the weaknesses of Holy Priest and Priest in general, of course, is going to be the lack of personals. The lack of strong defensive abilities for us to survive big damage. And you really will see this the most in tyrannical weeks when there is high burst damage going on. Oftentimes, and it feels horrible to say, you have to use your tank cooldown as a personal cooldown. And that big tank cooldown that I'm kind of talking about is, of course, Guardian Spirit. It feels kind of, like I said, it feels horrible to say, but it is kind of what is required. Is because your tank cooldown, you can put it on one target and you also get it on yourself. You do have that kind of flexibility of, oh, you're still putting a cooldown on the tank, and sometimes you're actually going to be talking to the tank in advance and saying, hey, don't use a cooldown here because I need to use this on myself, so by extension, you're going to get the cooldown as well. So it may require a little bit of communication there, because it's kind of awkward to have a cooldown that goes on 2 targets and have it always be strong for both targets, right? Some options will be if you and maybe another target don't have strong personal before a burst comes out from the boss. You're looking at like Black or Cold as good examples for the first and last boss having very heavy burst. Then you're able to use Guardian Spirit on yourself and on, of course, on like a more squishy target that doesn't have strong defensives, right? You're able to use those things there, and you're both getting a big benefit. It's always something that's kind of awkward to plan, but you always have to make sure that you're prioritizing your own survival almost at all costs, making sure the tank that stays alive whenever possible, but it's you and the tank, and making sure both of you are getting through this and you're able to have enough DPS in order to kill all the mobs. So that'll be something to kind of look at on a case-by-case basis of how you best are able to deal with any of the mobs and any of the big trash packs that can prove extremely lethal. Like I said, leaning on the Legendary Cloak is definitely a great tool, and it really allows you to, because you're rooted, you're not really able to, follow the team around. But if you're on a boss fight or you're on some situation where, there's going to be constant damage happening, or there's going to be more random damage happening, taking yourself out of the equation by going into angel form can actually be very, very beneficial, because it then reduces the number of targets that can actually be affected by any of the random targeting, any of the random mobs that are going to be going out there. For Mythic Plus, make sure we're prioritizing and planning with your group, how best you're going to be able to deal with mobs, and looking at how best you're able to plan out your healing and damage for the instance itself. You want to make sure that you're providing good boss DPS and good trash pack DPS, but also not at the expense of anybody's life, because of course they are going to be dealing quite a bit of damage, and you don't want to be adding any other extra time to the timers there. So getting through the instance as fast as possible, as cleanly as possible, is often going to be a priority. Hope you all found this guide helpful. Let me know if you have any kind of questions or comments in the section below. Of course, links to my Raider.io profile, all my UI add-ons, everything like that, the import strings, also linked in the description below, so be sure to check that out. For now, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you all found it helpful, hope you all found it useful, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.